Welcome back to My Mythical Meta, your gaming podcast that's actually a secret friendship podcast. My name is Travis, and I'm joined this week by the entire crew. I've got my brother Benjamin.
Hello.
My two great friends, Derek and Randy.
How's it going?
Hey.
Everyone is here. What have you guys been up to this week?
Randy and I have been defending
Managed democracy.
Managed democracy? Y'all been in Helldivers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Fighting the good fight.
How is it?
Waging war against the automaton.
Keep the bugs at bay.
Yeah, I thought it was bugs. Is it robots too?
It's both.
Oh.
They're attacking from both sides, or two different sides.
Why are bugs and robots not democratic? Do they have hive minds instead?
Well, the bugs are just naturally communistic. They have one ruler who has total authority, and it really makes me sick that those workers have no rights.
Sounds familiar.
We're killing them to get them rights.
It sounds like something we live through every day.
No, that's impossible. I'm fighting to defend democracy.
That is funny. Benjamin, how about you? What you been up to?
Just so much legal work, and grades are due this week. I've been working like crazy.
Oh, I remember what it was like to make sure your grades were done on time.
Yeah.
To have people calling you and sending you passive-aggressive emails.
Yes. Oh my goodness. About like, hey.
It's 4:03. Your grades were due at 4:00 p.m. Although I always had my grades in.
Right, yeah. That's not a big deal. It's more the students saying, "Are grades due yet? Can I still turn in this thing?"
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, kids would always ask me, "What can I do to pass?" You can invent a time machine and do your
Good
work
luck,
when I ask you to.
scrub.
You can turn it in when it was due. Y'all want to hear something kind of cool that I did today?
Yes.
Of course.
I tore a tree down.
You monster.
There was a tree in my backyard that has been completely dead for months. Branches have been falling, but yesterday the wind was super strong.
It was bad.
And a few more branches fell. And then today it was still windy, but I went out there and was like, just how dead is this tree? And I just started rocking it back and forth. And like, I didn't even break a sweat tearing this tree down. And then I just kind of went through all the branches and just broke all the branches up and threw them in my fire pit. So I have a gigantic pile of sticks ready for the fire right now.
Wow.
As well as a tree. I mean, it's pretty tall. It's probably 25, 30 feet long.
Nice.
It was pretty fun.
That sounds
and
fun.
today the weather got kind of colder anyway, so it was kind of nice to be outside.
Yeah, I was staring at my flower bed, and I'm like, they would have been a perfect day to go and pull weeds.
Oh my God, Derek.
This is the life I live now, guys.
Derek's so old.
They call me Daddy Green Thumbs.
Derek, you're so retired.
I'm so,
Or just like very, very king of the hill.
so bored. I got
Maybe
nothing
that's
interesting
it.
going
We
on.
want to give a quick shout out to our patron, David. Woo, David.
Yeah.
Thank you for sticking with us through the thick and thin. If you want to be a patron, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/mymythicalmeta. Your perks for joining our Patreon are a exclusive 20% off code for EldoradoGaming.com for shiny dice, playmats, and other accessories. You'll find early and ad-free content in our Patreon. And lastly, access to the My Mythical Meta Discord server, where the entire crew is hanging out, ready to talk games and to play games with you. Derek, what's this week's surprise Patreon perk?
If you subscribe to the Patreon, Travis is going to come out once a month and change your oil. But you have to have your own car, and you have to supply your own oil.
And you have to fly Travis to your location.
But he will do it. He'll come in a tank
Transportation-
top. He'll have a little funnel.
I'll check your dipstick, all right.
Okay.
Is that an oil change thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, based on this, y'all can tell how good a job he'll do.
But I will do
He'll
it.
do
And
it.
he'll look good doing it.
I'll do something. I'll
You
do
have to pay him
something
extra
your
to
car.
not come and do it.
Yeah, this is a hostage
That's,
situation
that-
now.
That's
That's
right.
the $6 perk.
That's
That's the $6 tier. Is I don't come to your house and do your oil change. We had an awesome game day last weekend, and so it's time for
The Eldorado Ascension Classic.
Hello, Commander. I do my killing before breakfast. 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock. I do my killing after breakfast. I know Kung Fu.
Come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me.
You throw another move at me, and I'm gonna lose it.
Allied to good! Nightmare to you!
Wah, wah. The cool video plays.
We got a video that plays?
Yeah, have y'all not seen
I've
it?
been listening to the podcast.
I've seen it.
I haven't seen the YouTube.
I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, I like it.
It looks, I don't know, it's kind of stupid at some places, but I think it's pretty cool. And I didn't have to pay anybody on Fiverr for it.
Love to hear it.
First place is still Derek.
Boo.
I know, boo. With a grand total of 79 points. Last game day, last weekend, he earned 22 points. Derek, again, earned an impressive 10 points with his Elenda the Dusk Rose deck. And then he debuted his Gyruda Doom's Depth. What was it called?
I think it's Doom's Depth.
Something like that.
Doom of Depth.
Gyruda Doom of Depths. And he earned 9 points. In second place, me. I'm back, baby. I'm back in second place with 67 points. I earned 21 points last game session. Derek earned 22. I earned 21. I'm back in second place. However, I am still 12 points behind. I am not sure that is a gap that can be closed. Some notable achievements there. I played with my Azuri Claw of Progress deck. This was a deck that Derek mentioned last week was a boogeyman of his, and I earned 9 points with that deck. Another notable achievement, I earned the First Blood achievement all 4 games we played.
He did.
So you guys need to start getting some 1-drops with haste in your decks.
I got him.
mean,
I'm not drawing them.
If you plan to ever beat me,
I played some early elves, and you were just faster. Yeah.
I'm telling you, you got to wake up pretty early in the morning if you want to take First Blood from me. In third place, we have Benjamin with 62 points. 5 points behind me. Still a pretty tight race. He earned 15 points last weekend. And Randy's Tiki Bar is fully complete and furnished in fourth place with 55 points.
Hey, it's nice down here. Toes in the water, toes in the sand.
It is nice, man. The swim up bar.
Yeah.
Now, Randy did do pretty good last weekend. He earned more points than Benjamin did.
Yes, he did.
Randy earned 17 points last game day, while Benjamin earned
I don't know
only
how.
15.
I frankly don't know how.
It was Commodore Guff.
I mean, yeah, that did a bit. But like the rest of the games, I feel like I didn't earn a single achievement.
Oh, you know what it was? It was
Commodore
your
Guff earned him Cosmic Power 3 times, as
Yeah,
well
but other than
as
that-
15 creatures, and second place.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Great game weekend. I was excited to hang out with you guys. My plan for next game day is to do all of my gift and challenge decks. So I've got Archelos, Skithrix and Kedis, Uriel the Miststalker, and Mirkul Lord of Bones.
Oh, yeah. 2 of my boogeymen.
Yeah.
Probably 3.
So that's my plan next weekend. Or not next weekend, but next time we play. Because I'm going to get those 4 decks in, which is also going to earn me the 5 point at the end achievement for playing all your gift decks. All gift and challenge
There you
decks.
go.
Derek, I'm coming for that first place, man.
I got to go really hard, real sweaty.
Oh, I know. Derek said, well, I guess I'm just going to play Olinda.
Yeah, I'll just play Linda
All
5-6
day.
times.
All right. I have a plan for that.
Oh, no. A plan for playing Olinda?
Yep.
Just throw Rest in Peace in all of your decks?
No, just play Grismold.
Oh, yep, that'll do it. Man, that'll be awesome. That'd be an awesome match.
Right.
Grismold v. Olinda.
Do have a lot of removal in that deck.
You're saying you do?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I do too.
And then me and Travis will make it worse by I'll play a token deck. Travis, you play Cranko.
Which will grow Alinda.
Be a nightmare.
So Alinda
Yeah,
and
all of those
Grismold
will
both
grow Alinda.
get bigger.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I know, I'm saying. That'd be a pretty cool match. I'm excited to see that. Okay, it is time for a pretty interesting topic. This topic has been kind of making the rounds through Reddit over the past week or so, and these posts have been getting lots and lots of traction. Our topic is cheating in role-playing games. The posts we're going to talk about today both come from our D&D, but I have seen similar posts in our RPG, our Dungeons & Dragons. So here's kind of the crux of the issue. People are wondering if it's okay to do things like lie about your dice rolls. And that's going to be probably our biggest conversation.
Yeah.
They're wondering if it's okay to lie about your dice rolls or your abilities, or if it's okay for the DM to change things about encounters on the fly, or if this is quote-unquote cheating. And there are a couple points that My Mythical Meta wants to make clear. Benjamin, I think you'd be a good person to start us off. We have spoken in the past before our opinions on cheaters in things like board games, Magic the Gathering, and trading card games. What is my Mythical Meta stance on cheaters?
In those structured games, cheating is just never okay. Not in any context. It is one of those things that breaks the social contract.
Yeah.
It goes against the established rules of the game, that it has implications for other areas of your life. It's just bad for you. And it's bad for everyone else. It ruins the fun. It ruins the flavor. It ruins friendships and other relationships. Just not worth it. But that's when you break established rules where the game is first and foremost about those rules, right? You've come together to play the same thing, and cheating means that somebody is playing something different, and it changes the dynamic of what you've come to do. It gets a little more complicated when instead of a competition, you've come to share in a social storytelling setting instead.
Board games and trading card games, those have established terms of engagement where the activity is the rules. And obviously this podcast talks about the social dynamics around the rules, but the rules of those games are how you play. They're not why you play, but they are how you play, is to follow those rules and then to ultimately determine a winner through the application of those rules. Role-playing games, though, are different. Role-playing games are social activities first and foremost. They are designed, in their conceit. The mission of a role-playing game is to tell a cool and interesting story.
Yeah.
And all role-playing game books will have the same section at the beginning about how the rules of a role-playing game are second to the story that you and your players explore. The moves by the dungeon master or the game master, whatever you want to call it, we're probably going to refer to it as a DM, the dungeon master, a lot today. But the moves by the DM and the players should all be aimed toward making a cool and interesting story for the group, for the social experience. And so, when the rules for these games are not holy writ, these rules are not sacred scripture, and even the rule designers have come out in the book itself and said it's okay to bend or it's okay to break these rules, well then in that case, just how sacred is the dice roll? Or just how sacred is the rule that you're supposed to be following?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so the first post that we're going to talk about is on RD&D. It says, player caught fudging a roll. Last night during a session where I was DMing, one of my players caught another one fudging an attack roll. He said they called me later to let me know what happened. And he said the player rolled a 3, but then said out loud that it was a 19. He says, I didn't see the roll in question because my DM screen blocked my sight. I have no reason to believe that the first player would lie about catching a fudged roll, and he doesn't know how to address it. The poster says, I don't want my players to believe that they need to fudge their attack rolls during my campaigns. It bothers me that they would. This player and I have played together for over a year now, so they're close friends, and he doesn't think anyone should need to, lie about an attack roll. Most of the comments have pointed out that the 3 and the 19 are right next to each other on randomized 20-sided die. And so a lot of people are saying, let's give the benefit of the doubt. That's probably what I would do too. If you've been playing with them for a year and haven't noticed them ever doing something like this, that's probably what I would do, is just let it slide. But this post has 500 upvotes, over 250 comments, and I think it's worth a discussion to talk about what is going on in the player's head, why they feel they would need to cheat on a roll, and then what the DM should do in response, if indeed they are. Have any of you ever done this?
Cheated or fudged
Ever
fudged
lied
roll?
on? Yeah. Have any of you ever fudged a roll as a
absolutely.
player?
Absolutely.
I have, and my hand's up. Randy, have you?
Yeah, I've done it before.
As a player?
Yeah.
Benjamin, have you?
Not that I can remember, but I'm not going to say I'm above it.
So you heard it here, all 4 members of the My Mythical Meta team, we have all lied about a dice roll while playing a role-playing game. We play Mage together. We do that online over Roll20, and so all our dice go through that system. It's kind of impossible to cheat or fudge on those rolls. But when we're playing in person, you heard it. It happens. So, Derek, what's something that goes through your mind? Why would you ever lie about a die roll? What's going through your head head when you make that split-second decision?
Well, it could be a couple of different things. Like, let's say we're in a fight, and I've just been missing and missing and missing and missing. I can't take it anymore. I came here to have fun, not to waste my time, I guess. So I'll just, I'll fudge it once to at least make an appearance in the game.
At least make a single hit.
Yeah, it's one hit. Who gives a shit? Like, it's not going to, like, save the day or anything. It's one hit on one person.
Yeah.
Assuming it's not like a fireball or something, but still.
Sure. That's the exact situation that I've done it. And I've been doing that since I was in the Boy Scouts. You know, a scout is trustworthy, not always. But it's always after frustration at multiple bad rolls. I want to be honest. I want to use the skills that I've statted my character out for. But if I have failed a hold person saving throw 5 turns in a row, like, I'm sorry. I mean, that's easily a half hour of doing nothing in real time.
At least a half hour, if it's like 5 turns.
If not more. Or something. Maybe it's 3. But to have spent several real-life minutes as part of this combat, as part of this shared storytelling experience, and have done nothing, that is so frustrating. You know, to have missed 3 or 4 turns in a row, or 3 or 4 attacks in a row. That is so frustrating. And so that's what drives me to lie about a dice roll. You know, I do it to feel relevant in an encounter. Randy, Benjamin, anything you guys want to add here?
That's the exact situation I would do it too. That's why I said I wasn't above it, because, I would do it to kind of counteract a long string of bad luck. Yeah.
In our playing or whatever, I'm sitting next to my Kristen, and she'll have rolled a bad thing, and no one heard her roll or anything, and I'll just pick it up and I'll roll it again for her.
I feel like I've seen you do this before.
And I'll do it in front of your faces.
So, Randy, as the DM, what goes through your mind when you see Derek do that? Like, do you as the DM feel cheated in some way?
No.
When Kristen gets a second chance to do something?
Not really. I guess in my head, it's like, if it's that important to you, it doesn't bug me that much.
Yeah.
If it's that important to you and it doesn't really bother me, I'm not going to make a deal out of it. I kind of had a thought, when they feel like they're failing over and over again, I get it. And I am personally trying to view it going forward as like, well, when I fail, that's just something to, I guess, kind of grow on in the character.
Okay.
So that whenever I do eventually get that hit, it feels more satisfying, if that makes sense. It's like failure is a part of a character, and if they're always hitting every time, then it feels a bit more stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
okay.
I get it.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
If you always succeed, then there's no highs and lows.
It does create drama. I see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's what I'm...
When you overcome failure in order to finally succeed. Yeah, I see that.
I mean, the reason why I do it with Kristen is because it was already a task to get her into the game, and I have to keep her entertained with the game, because if she's like, man, that sucked, I don't want to play this game anymore, it just wasn't fun, I need to make sure she's not getting too disheartened.
You feel like the ice is thin?
Not like the ice is thin. She does enjoy the game. I want to make sure the ice has a steady amount of ice.
Yeah. I feel like early on, I can see more of like wanting to make sure she's having fun. I think she's at a point now where she's really enjoying it, and a couple bad rolls aren't going to make her just up and quit playing with us.
Yeah.
And I'll talk more on this later.
Going on to what you were saying about how it gets stale when somebody's hitting all the time, I think that's a time where, as a fellow player or as a DM, that's where it would bother me for a player to be fudging rolls. Kind of almost like they've got main character syndrome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like they have taken it upon themselves to be better than everyone else, to not be affected by luck, to not have the swings and the highs and lows, and because everyone else is playing the game and sometimes missing, they become the hero of the story.
Yeah. And in reality, they're more just cheating themselves.
Yeah. I mean, they're cheating the storytelling experience. Like, that's what it really comes down to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the dice are meant to represent this feeling of chance, of fate, or destiny, and every really good book that I've read includes the heroes failing every once in a while, where the enemy they're fighting is just better than them at something, and then they have to do something clever, or they have to completely fail in order to come back and try again later. That is a very traditional drama tactic. ethic that makes cool and interesting stories. That's the hero's journey. Failure is part of that.
Yeah.
And so when someone says they're the hero from the beginning and never fails, there's not a lot of change or growth or transformation, which are all part of the literary hero's journey.
Mary Sue's just aren't as interesting, you know? I mean, if you're good at everything all the time... I think a good example that just popped in my head is the movie The Other Guys. At the very beginning, The Rock and Samuel Jackson's characters are always succeeding their saving throws. They're crashing into cars into buses, but not hurting people. They're getting all... they're rolling all nat 20s. Even if it's causing chaos, it's still all like, go, go, go. And everything's great for them. And so that's why it's funny when they finally do fail. It helps, the comedy on that. Yeah. But then we get to see the other guys, Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, and they have highs and lows, and they'll do something great, and then they'll just desk pop. Like that's a low. So lows can be funny.
Yeah.
And so you gotta, I feel like you gotta embrace the lows.
If I could go against the grain on you three.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I agree that you need to have lows to enjoy the highs and to make a good story. But the way I'm seeing it is that, like if Spider-Man died, Uncle Ben gets shot or whatever. That's the story, that's his low. But one roll is the equivalent of like maybe he tripped a little bit or he stepped in a puddle this morning on the day before Uncle Ben got shot. I guess what I'm saying is, or maybe those lows shouldn't be determined by rolls and should just be part of the narrative thing. Like, hey, this is just what's happening. You don't have a good choice of it. But like the roll for attack or roll to persuade or something like that, that's just like one thing. And I know it's kind of main character syndrome, but in like Baldur's Gate 3, and there's this game called Disco Elysium, they roll things and you pass or fail or whatever. And I am famously a save scummer, which means that I save before the roll and I keep going until I get the result I want. Because I want a good story out of it. And I don't
part of playing games like these is the power fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I don't want to downplay the power fantasy part of it at all.
But I feel like that's playing a different game. If you're talking about doing it in Baldur's Gate 3, fine. You play whatever game you want to play. I feel like if you're playing D&D, you're playing Pathfinder, you're playing Mage, whatever. If you are succeeding more often, especially if it's significantly more often than the dice say you should, it's like you've actually built a different character. You've built a character with better stats than you were allowed to or whatever. And that's not the way your DM asked you to do it, right? They said this is how many points you get at the start, or what y'all have agreed to in Rule 0 or whatever. And if the story should always be based on here's what the good story is and whatever, why roll dice at all for anything? Just play pretend.
Yeah,
And
I guess I should have said, don't fudge every single roll. Don't fudge every single roll, but, the occasional roll for story's sake or for enjoyment's sake, I don't think anyone would... Well, I mean, maybe you guys care, but it wouldn't really bother me.
So are you saying that, like, if it's something that you feel is like a big roll, like you're facing the big bad and you've rolled poorly, or you're saying that you feel like it's more okay to fudge it because it's like the big bad, or it's like an important persuasive scene where you're trying to get information versus just like I'm gonna steal a muffin and do a sleight of hand check?
Yeah, I'm fine with either way. If you're on a string of bad luck, important or not, I don't know.
I feel like if you're in like a situation where you feel, oh, this is really important, this is gonna be make or break for the story. In my head, it's like make or break for the story is never really decided by a roll.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Is that it's not Uncle Ben dying; it's stepping in the puddle the day that Uncle Ben is killed.
Yeah, but if you have main character syndrome, then it's like, well, I'm gonna fudge my roll, and now Uncle Ben doesn't die. Like. If you're fudging your roll to try to get the final hit, I guess, it's like, is it that important?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it just to steal glory or anything like that. To not be a Mary Sue, I can't be good at every single thing. Other people have to do their parts, but if it's down to me, it's make or break time, I don't know.
If you're in a party of 4, 3 of them are knocked unconscious, all on, their dying saving throws, you're the last guy up, and, you and the big bad are both beaten and bloodied, and it's like, kind of hit, like,
yeah, I would fudge that roll if I could get away with it.
Well, now I know to watch your rolls in those critical situations.
That's fair. Try to keep an eye on me. I'm very sneaky.
If I'm the DM, I don't know. It's I'll say part of me feels like as the DM, either I've already pre-chosen how this is going to end, or I've either decided 2 options. So it's like you may fudge that roll thinking that you're going to get the hit, and then it's like, well, I'm the DM, and we're going to talk about this later. I'm going to add 6 health points so he doesn't go down, and then he's going to down you anyway. So it's like you fudge for nothing. So I say don't fudge it because I say you may just be robbing yourself for no reason.
I mean, it makes sense, but I don't buy into it.
Let me ask you this,
Okay.
Derek, because you seem to be the punching bag here. You said you don't want to be a Mary Sue and you don't want to be good at everything. So how do you decide how often and which roles you're going to fudge?
I mean, I guess it's just a feeling thing. I mean, like I said, if I'm on like a string of bad luck and I just want one good thing, that's enough reason for me, I guess.
And then you'll just do it once, and then you'll wait for another string of bad luck to do it again?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm going to do this every single time. A lot of times I don't need to because,
because the character's been made.
Yeah,
Decently.
it's a decently made character. We're
And-
probably high enough level.
Well, and I mean, you're doing the things that you want your character to be good
Yeah.
at,
Right.
And to have rolled low on all the things your character is supposed to be good at, that's exceedingly
yeah,
frustrating.
it's demoralizing.
Yeah.
For example, my Merfolk Pirate, I have sunk at this point like 5 feats into intimidation checks. I am supposed to be able to step on the bow of a boat, give a scowl, and have people start giving me their merchandise.
Yeah.
In order to escape with their lives. And if I can't get 2 teenagers to tell me when the meet is happening between the gang leaders, like that feels really awful. That is a role that I'm likely to
Yes.
fudge if I roll bad at it, because my character is supposed to be doing that thing, and if I keep failing at it over and over again, that's extremely frustrating. Like I wouldn't be fudging a roll on. I'm just trying to think of another skill.
If
that
you're doing
Yeah,
something
my barbarian
intelligent,
wouldn't
yeah,
try to do
like my wife's Kristen's character is an investigator, so she's got intelligence and I think accounting is one of her random skills. I don't know, or engineering, trap making. Like if I roll bad on an engineering check, that doesn't matter. I wasn't supposed to be good at that thing anyway. So I can certainly see where Derek's coming from, and we talked. I don't remember if it was last week or the week before about encouraging teamwork in games, about how making sure that your character is doing a part of the pie, a piece of the skills that your team needs to succeed. And so if your bad luck is weighing the entire group down because you can't do your task, that is really frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'd be much more okay with fudging. It's after repeated fails in the area that only you can realistically succeed at, because that does slow down the story, especially if it's simple enough that your character should auto-succeed. And I'd go even further and say, DMs, if he's trying to intimidate a bunch of teenagers with no special abilities, don't make him roll for that.
You know, I was
Like-
going to say this
Yeah,
too.
that's a good
is
point.
I feel like just from my experience as a DM, sometimes we give too much agency to players. Like I remember asking you guys to roll perception checks for something I really wanted you guys to see. And it's just like, hey, I'm a DM. I'm supposed to ask for perception checks and all that stuff. And then everyone failed. Everyone got like 2s and 3s. And no one saw anything. I was like, okay, let's try it again. You know, like maybe the next day or something like that. Nothing. And it's like, well, this is unfun for me as the DM because I have done a foolish thing of like making an intensely story-driven moment dictated by the
Rely on
rely
dice.
on the roll of a die.
Yeah, I totally agree with that point and with what Benjamin said earlier. If it's something that your character should auto-succeed on, don't make your characters roll for that. Don't make your players roll for something that they're good at and there's little chance of failure in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since I don't know if it was clearly stated in one sentence, don't make your characters roll for something that you need them to succeed on to pass the story. And I'll even do the corollary of that because I was thinking about this earlier. Don't make them roll for something that you need them to fail.
Exactly.
Have them
Yeah.
be put under an anti-magic spell. Have them be put under a spell that paralyzes them, and then the bad guy can come up and give some exposition while they're stuck and make the saving throw something that I'm not even going to make you roll for it because it's a 52 is the difficulty. And then do what you wanted to do with them. Okay, they get taken to the jail or the evil lair or whatever, and then you start making them roll for things that you actually are willing for them to succeed at. I think those sorts of decisions by the DM can really reduce the amount of time the players feel like they need to fudge. Because as a player, if you feel like you're fudging, you are kind of robbing yourself a little bit of the excitement of the game, right? Like it's
Yeah.
less like, yeah, you got to do the cool story and overall you still had fun, but the excitement of rolling a die and seeing, did I get over the threshold or not? You know, there's an adrenaline rush. It gets your hormones going, your
oxytocin and your dopamine.
yeah, you know, the dopamine rush is gone. You just get the overall, you know, this was a good story and I had a good time, but not the immediate roller coaster.
I remember running a game where I was the DM and I was Kristen, Travis, Randy, and you guys went into a town that had been secretly, there was a coup that happened recently, and you guys went there to warn them about something, and you guys were taken prisoner, but I let you guys roll for it, and one of you got away. I think maybe it was Kristen as a centaur or something. Like you guys thought that you had failed, but you were doing exactly what I wanted you to do, and then the person who got away thinks that, oh, I succeeded, but now it's thrown a whole wrench into my plan. I should have just not had you guys roll, and it's just been like a story moment where I like, hey, these guards come up and they tackle you. Ambushed, yeah, behind.
They bonk you over the head and hog tie you.
It's just like something I've learned is to just don't let story-driven moments be relied on a dice roll.
So I don't know that we as a podcast took a stance, but I think we can move to the question of what can the group or the DM do about player cheating. We've talked about why some of us do it. I don't know. What do you guys think that the group as a whole or the DM, if it's their responsibility, what can they do to reduce instances of cheating in their game?
I do think you're begging the question here, right, of if that's a worthwhile goal, but assuming it is, I think it starts with a session 0 conversation where the DM says, hey, if your role is going to change the outcome of the game, I'm just not going to have you roll for it. And that way that, maybe not. I'm kind of, as I say it sounds awful.
Yeah, because then it sounds like, oh, so all my rolls mean nothing and I'm on a roller coaster. It's finding that balance of on-rails story and fully open world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I certainly think the session 0 of, the DM and the group comes together before the game has begun and they talk about what they expect dice to mean and what they expect players to do should they have runs of bad luck, or just how they feel about dice lying. Establish whatever clear rules you're going to and then enforce them equally. Establish norms and then enforce those norms. Because the players and the DM can develop anger or resentment if they learn that rules aren't fairly enforced amongst all the members of your group.
I do have a story about this. It was a DM played character, but this person likely would have done something similar if they were just a player and not the DM. And I was playing a game of Cyberpunk, and Cyberpunk has a similar rule to Mage where when you roll the highest roll, I think it was a D10, then it explodes. You get to keep rolling to make your roll higher. This was maybe late middle school or early high school, so none of us had strongly established norms or anything like that. But there was an interesting story moment, a battle, and the game master was it just rolled, and like before you could even see really, like the die had not really settled, he yelled 10 and picked it up and rolled again and did it like 5 times.
Oh my
and then
jeez.
And so I thought the last time I saw it and it was like a 7, I was like, that was a 7. And he goes, okay, well, that's a 57. So, and then he describes this really cool thing that happened as a result. And on the one hand, that was cool, and the description of what happens when you roll a 57 out of 10 was really fun. And there was a bit of an adrenaline rush on the part of, anyone there who didn't realize what was happening or whatever. But it also made that experience, slightly dampened for me. Yeah, it cheapened because I was like, that didn't really happen, or at least it didn't feel like it really happened. Maybe he was rolling 10s and he was seeing them faster than me. But like, it just felt very much like asterisk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Asterisk on this one. So that's kind of how I think I would feel in general, knowing that people were regularly fudging dice. I would just think, hey, we're not playing the same game here. We're just telling a story. Because I still had fun that day, but I didn't feel like we had played the game.
Yeah, I don't feel like a DM run character should ever be rolling dice because for that exact reason. And I don't know, it feels weird to me because it's like, how can you be a player? I mean,
right, it should be an NPC.
Yeah, it's an NPC, so it's like you're playing a character, and I feel like you're like, people are going to get main hero syndrome.
Yes.
Because the DM knows what's coming, knows any traps, knows any enemies.
Yeah.
So like if it's like a
So the DM is just kind of living out a power fantasy.
Yeah,
a power and balance
when they do things like that.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, well, I know later on today I have an encounter, and I'm going to need hold person and these spells, which isn't what I would normally prepare. Like, you know, if you're like, oh, I'm a wizard, I'm going to get fireball, magic missile, and this. And it's like, that's going to be the normal, you know, daily prep spells. But then I have meta knowledge, so I know I'm going to prep this instead. And it's like, I don't know, it feels weird. I had a NPC character in that first game I did for U2 and the Kristens. And I had more plans for him. He was never meant to be like on the adventure with y'all, but I wanted him to have like my representation within the world and kind of like how y'all got quests, and you know, and that's what it kind of was. I had bigger plans for him eventually, but I ended up scrapping a lot of it because I was like, it feels kind of like I'm doing a character that I want, not what was needed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And Benjamin's story just kind of really reinforced that of it's a power fantasy for the DM. Man, you're the DM. You can do all that without having to roll anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Just have a bad guy do it.
Ooh. Yeah, I love that idea. I remember doing that a couple times when I was in high school. I didn't DM very often, but I did DM 2 or 3 games. And that's what I would do, is I would base an enemy off of, you know, some cool video game character I'd seen or a comic character. Derek, do you remember Tyler Heath used to write that comic, The Underground? Yeah. I used to like make D&D villains based off those guys and stuff like that. But yeah, I would do exactly that. I'd never roll for them. I would just have them do the cool thing. Anyway.
Something that we had noted was, you know, what can the group of the DM do about cheating?
Yeah.
We have put down to remind players that if you're feeling ineffective, if you're not liking your character, if you're feeling the need to fudge, especially a lot, because you don't feel like you're doing the thing you wanted to do, come to the DM.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of DMs are fine with letting you change your college or domain or whatever subclass you've chosen.
Yeah, change
at
your
will.
character's loadout.
Yeah, like, don't do it every session, but if you're like, this just isn't, I'm not feeling it like I thought I would. Okay, fine. You know, pick a different one, change out some feats, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever you need to do to get your character back on track.
To get your fun back on track, I think.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, and that is
Yeah.
the character. The character's supposed to be fun, so it's like, if it's getting your character back where you want it to be so you can have fun, then I'm fine with, you know, you doing that. Or if you just want to re-roll. And if you want to just have it be, it happens, and you were always that way, and there was never a different version of you, that's fine. If you want to go the path of, well, no, in story, I want to change gods. Cool. Thanks for the plot hook. I'll write it, you know, we'll have a whole adventure on you changing face. Come to the DM. Most of us are here to help.
Yeah, I think I've been spoiled by... Or I guess I've just been playing a lot of RPGs lately, but in almost every single one of them, I can respec my character at any time and as many times as I want. And I don't feel like I could, in good conscience, if I don't feel like I'm having fun with the character, be stuck with that character for the rest of the game anymore. I've just been too spoiled.
There are some other things that groups can do to reduce cheating. You can ask players to roll in plain sight. You know, you can have a central dice rolling tray. For example, the Captain's Cache, available on EldoradoGaming.com. Use promo code META for 10% off. It features a great dice tower that fits directly in the dice storage tray. That is one solution of many of making sure that everyone can see dice rolls. Or use something online. Or an app that has dice rolling.
No. Only metal dice are allowed.
That's true. Only metal dice from EldoradoGaming.com are allowed.
Because you know metal dice are solid and they can't be weighted to be cheating like plastic.
Yes, definitely.
Seal of approval with an asterisk.
I think if a player is constantly cheating and doing that main character syndrome problem that we've discussed, you should talk to them about the behavior and try to discern their reason for doing so. Kind of like what we've talked about already. Why are they doing it? Is it frustration? Is it because they wanted to do something cool? Ask them why, and that might just be a transformation into, I feel ineffective, can I change something? But explain that it isn't fair to other players when one character just has much better luck than the rest. You know, a lot of games have a way to mechanically represent this. Halflings have a luck ability. Isn't that right?
Yeah, they can't roll ones.
Yeah, halflings can't roll ones on saving throws. I know I used to play a lot of Savage Worlds. I really like that role-playing system, actually. And there are edges you can take called luck, great luck, that give you rerolls that you can use per session. So a lot of games will represent this mechanically. They might do something like providing inspiration, which could also be a reroll opportunity. And so it's really unfair when one player has a lot better luck than the others do. And ultimately, this is also an option. You can decide whether it matters or doesn't matter. You can look at if this person is a close friend and you're playing a game and telling a cool story. Does this person generally make the game very enjoyable? Is it okay if they fudge a die roll only after a long string of bad luck in order to, shake off a hold person or finally break the chains that have held them restrained for 5 turns? That is an option. You can decide whether this is important or not. I do want to throw that out there. I think if the goal of playing your game is to tell stories with your friends, then I think finding out a person's reasons and working through those reasons, or deciding it's not very important because the rules of this game are not sacred scripture, you can decide that it doesn't matter if they're your close friends. I do still think that a lot of people online are playing with strangers, and it's going to be a lot less acceptable to cheat in a game with strangers. It becomes a lot less acceptable. I do think in general you should be trying to foster a sense of trust and teamwork between the players and between the players and the DM.
Yeah.
Anything you guys want to add about player cheating?
I guess as an adult, I have 2 free days a week, and I'm using one of them to play this game. And if I'm sitting, this is just more on the bad luck thing.
Yeah.
What did you do this weekend? Oh, I sat there while my friends played a game, and I rolled the die and got a bad number.
And I rolled less than 10 for 3 hours.
It's unacceptable to me.
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, I'm right there with you. And what's funny is, a lot of the comments were like, the 19 is right next to the 3. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how I cheat.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I see the die with the low number on top. I look at the adjacent numbers and pick which one's highest.
The other thing, we keep talking about the players doing this. The DM can also solve this by just saying, okay, the hold person wears off. What do you do now?
Yeah.
Or whatever. If you know that somebody's not having fun and it's not going to hurt your story, don't put them in a position where they feel like they have to be shady, especially if y'all have decided as a group that that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Is it going to turn the tide of battle? No? Well, then let them out and let them swing their axe at something.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent point. That the DM at any time can change things for the sake of the story. You can rescue a story if the dice aren't supporting you. Mm-hmm. Let's do that. Let's switch tacks and talk about what DM, quote-unquote, cheating looks like. What are some things that DMs do that manipulate the rules in order to create whatever they want to create? Obviously, DMs can fudge their dice rolls. There's a reason there's a DM screen. This is an extremely common accessory, a screen that creates privacy between the DM and the players. So changing dice rolls, changing creature abilities, modifying a creature's AC in the middle of a battle to create a phase 2, a phase 3, modifying difficulties of certain rolls. There's all types of things that DMs can do to change the rules or to bend them or manipulate them.
I kind of want to push back on that. I don't feel like that's the purpose of a DM screen.
Go ahead. What do you think?
I think the purpose of a DM screen is to maintain mystery and stuff. If I go up to a person in real life, I don't know what my target number is to convince them to let me through a door.
Oh, yeah.
Or how many hits it's going to take to knock them unconscious. And I think that if you're playing a game with the purpose of playing pretend, of building a story, that sort of drama is enhanced by the privacy. I don't think it's usually for DMs to go changing things unless that was already part of the narrative to begin with. Like you said, the phase 2 and phase 3 of a battle. I think that's totally fine. But I'm gonna fudge a roll every time things aren't going my way, I don't think is the purpose of a DM screen, and not the way I would tend to run a campaign. And in fact, when I did run a lot of campaigns and things went off course, I usually just rolled with it because it was more fun that way.
It's part of the fun anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something that I kind of was made a note of. I know in my history so far as a DM, a lot of times I think I've been, I guess, scared to let y'all fail. And so I would fudge things, AC, health, whatever, to prolong a battle so y'all just didn't one-shot something. I have a quote that I wrote down here. It's from Matt Colville. It says, encounter design doesn't stop once initiative is called. And, it's like there's a lot that goes into trying to balance an encounter. And sometimes you just get that stuff wrong, or sometimes you forget to ask for checks entirely and you just let people do stuff like firing cannons.
Yeah.
And
I remember that. Oh my god.
Yeah, I've done that a lot before, where I'll make things maybe last a little bit longer, but I guess I've never planned on letting y'all fail. And recently I've been thinking well, is that kind of taking some of the thrill out for them to feel like they're never gonna lose a fight, really? So, going forward, don't be so sure that you're always gonna win, because I think I'm going to...
Randy's gonna ramp up the difficulty on us, Derek.
A little bit, but I mean, not in a way that's I'm gonna make things harder on purpose, but it may just be that I've had several times where I've rolled stuff and it's oh, that kills them, no saving throws, nothing, they're dead, and I'll lie because I'm I'm gonna feel bad if I kill someone. But now I'm well, is that kind of robbing them of this either epic chance to end the character there if they wanted, or give them a chance to go revive, have a goddess come in and revive them because they're a champion of the light? There's a lot of story things.
I do want to chime in here.
Okay.
Because I've had several characters die over the course of just literally a random encounter. That's happened to me before in games in high school, in games that I played with new friends in college that weren't you. And I can just say, as a DM, I'm usually thinking about my encounters or my fights or my planned fights as how many resources I want you guys to expend over the course of the fight.
Yeah, that's how I think about
it. How many big spell slots do I want them to spend here so that when they get to the next fight, they don't have as many available slots? How much HP do I want you to have left as you go into the next fight? And HP in Dungeons & Dragons has started to mean so much less because you can short rest and get it all back or whatever. But I will adjust my encounters as a DM based on how many resources I want you to spend. And so my view here is that role-playing games are not video games, and DMs have a lot more to do in their lives than balance the player encounters perfectly.
Yeah.
The video game experience is entirely different. If I die at the wrong time in a video game because I ran out of stamina while climbing a rock and then I fell to my death, I can restart, I can reload, I can grind, I can learn more about the game, and I can try again in order to overcome that obstacle. But that was a random encounter. It wasn't part of the story. Link is trying to defeat Ganondorf, and for him to die by falling from a rock,
or a flock of
sorry,
chickens.
that's not Link's story, right? If I die in a tabletop RPG, that character is just done whether his story arc was complete or not, and that is very disappointing. If all of our characters are level 2, I shouldn't have any expectation that a god is going to save my character, or that other people are going to expend 500 gold pieces worth of diamond dust on healing me. That is super disappointing, to die at something that wasn't part of the story.
No, yeah, I definitely get that. I guess in my head, I'm not gonna have someone even have the chance to die because of we were on the side of the road and we were sleeping and then random encounter or some wolves showed up. I'm not gonna be you failed all your stuff and you got dragged off into the night.
Well, Travis, the wolf got 2 crits against you and you were only level 2, so
your neck has been ripped to shreds and you're dead.
So you're dead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's too hardcore for the games I want to play.
Wouldn't that be super disappointing, right?
Yeah.
I cannot imagine. But those people are out there. They're out there saying, hey, the world's not lollipops and rainbows, it's the world of darkness. And if you want to be an adventurer in the Forgotten Realms, you got to toughen up.
Yeah, and I think there's a place for those kind of people that want to play it, but that's the rule 0 situation.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I feel like maybe through my DMing, I wonder if any sense of danger has been lost because I was nervous about like getting y'all too close to death, or I don't know, putting too much danger.
Well, I mean, let me say something else, Randy. If each time we get together is a mission on the bounty board, and we are doing these missions on the bounty board in order to gain power and get more important missions, I would be really upset if my character died because goblins were ransacking the barn.
No, yeah, I know, I agree.
And that's the kinds of missions we've been doing at this point. So, like, I know that your game has a bigger plot, a bigger mission ahead of it, and I want Silvano, I want my guy, I want Derek's, Zergo, I want Kristen's Gaston, I want them to be able to experience that bigger plot. And it would be, I mean, I don't know, it might be funny, some people might like it, but I can't imagine that any of us would enjoy the goblins ransacking the barn, killing their characters.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's the kind of situation where that would happen. I guess in my head I'm thinking a bit more grandiose events that are coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think for a boss battle or something that's like a super big story point, like maybe some climactic battle like you're saying or whatever. Like, I don't want to die. I don't want to spend my whole Saturday only to die at the end, unless it makes a perfect story and I can sleep with that at least. But yeah, I'm fine with nail biters. I just want to have fun, and usually dying is not fun.
Yeah, I think that's true too. The tagline of the episode: usually dying is not fun.
I just want to throw in there real quick, and like I said, it's not that I'm saying like I want to kill the characters or anything like that.
Right.
But I feel like let's say like a year from now, or a year from like we have a session and there's like an event where it's like 3 people are down, Derek's the only one up. Again, like I said earlier, it's your mono, like that stuff's really cool, and it's like,
yeah, I would be okay dying in that point if my death had a purpose, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll also say that, like, I think I have a slightly different attitude than Derek in the sense that, when I get ready to spend my 1 day a week where I'm free, man, it would suck to die on something inconsequential or whatever. But also, I feel like the whole challenge myself, make a good character, go do something exciting, suddenly the game is just so much less fun if I catch my DM fudging a roll to save me. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't feel like I did it.
Punches.
I did it. Or, I did the thing, I succeeded, is often the feeling we're going for, right? The character creation for me is one of the biggest reasons I roleplay, and to see that my character did the thing in the moment that it was supposed to do it is a great feeling. And obviously I don't get that if I fail, but I also don't get it if I see my DM go, oh, that 19's a 3. To save me, I say, well, it wasn't good enough either way, right? I failed, and I will go through the rest of that session feeling like I'm only here because of Deus Ex Machina and not because anything I did. I didn't earn it.
Because of the kindness of your dungeon master.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I will say this. If you are doing that in a campaign I'm in, do not let me know. Ever.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just saying, let me believe that sweet lie.
That has been the consensus in this second Reddit post. The second Reddit post was, is it bad as a DM to cheat a bit? Let me explain. He says, my level 4 players were anticipating a very big fight against a homebrew creature. So this is already a creature that this person has kind of made up off the top of their head. It says it was supposed to be a hard fight. When they get to him, they have a pretty fair fight. And it says they adjusted their HP in the middle of the match, I guess.
I've done that.
It was a close call and fun for them, as they told me they don't know I cheated on this. And for me, I don't know if I made the right choice. And he asks for the opinions of the masses. And most people are saying, do not let the players see the change you make. Whatever change you make should be as if it were that way all the time, except for the cases of like those multi-phase battles or whatever. It says never cheat any numbers the players see. That's the top comment so far.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would feel insulted if like, oh yeah, he hit you for 100, but I'm gonna knock that down to 10 points because you can't handle it. I would feel a little insulted.
Well, could you handle 100
I mean, I couldn't. My character couldn't handle it, but now my pride is on the line. Like, no, do it.
But then you also
do it.
But then you also just said, like, what if it was the opposite? He overtuned the monster, and then a minute ago you said, well, like, it would be awful if I died, even though that does sound like a big boss monster.
Yeah.
If it's was it TPK, total party kill?
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh, like I didn't mean to do this. This was meant just to be a fun fight. Like Travis said, I wanted to drain resources, not murder them.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, if you don't pull your punches, then it's even worse. Game's over. They all died.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, if I saw the punch, or I saw the roll or whatever, my pride is on the line. It's like, no, you open this can of worms, we're gonna see it through. And now it's the DM's problem. Hey, you've made a choice here. How are we going to get past this?
Your story sucks because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point I was trying to make earlier, though, is when you have that big dramatic 3 are down, one guy's up, mano slugging it out, later on, those are kind of like things that make great stories of, oh man,
I agree.
Getting to relive that and tell that to someone.
Yeah, those are the types of stories that people tell us at conventions.
Yeah, and I'm worried.
When they say, I want this dice to connect with this character.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is, I'm worried that maybe in the past, if I had pulled punches, did it rob y'all of the opportunity to get those stories?
Maybe.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm kind of looking into changing up how I DM a little bit, because it'll be a little tougher on me, maybe having to not let everything be on so many rails, But
I think you've done fine.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
The 2 characters that I played for you, where I played Gerard, who became the Birdman Vigilante, and then I played Sobek, the
Spore Lizard.
young lizard folk who was turned into an old man through magic or whatever. I really liked how those 2 stories turned out.
Okay.
So
I think you've done fine.
Okay.
I think that if you're going to step in as the DM to fudge a roll, and the players maybe would know it somehow, like you hesitate and there's a small click behind your board or something, or the rolls are being made public for some reason, like maybe on Roll20 or something.
Yeah.
A way that you can fix this is by, before every session, you create a kind of, you plan a bunch of missions ahead of time, right? You have your board available for them to choose from. You just go ahead and have some powerful character set aside for when there would be a TPK who swoops in and says, I'm a local wandering superhero and now you owe me a favor, and they send them on another mission. And instead of it being, oh, I feel cheated, it feels like it's part of the story. Mm-hmm. And maybe I was even meant to lose that fight and be in a position where I couldn't win because it enabled the DM to send me on this other quest instead. And I think I would feel much better about that than feeling like they fudged a roll. To have someone swoop in and go, hey, stop.
You work for me.
Right. And maybe now maybe they say, you owe me a life debt. Now you have to work it off or whatever. It can become a whole story thing. And they could be on the same side so that your life debt still progresses the story.
Yeah. There is a contingent of DMs on our D&D who do not change their stats no matter what happens. And they say, well, the players could always run.
Well,
what do you guys think of that mindset?
If it's a rule 0...
Like, I guess if it's kind of like an open world sandbox kind of world.
Yeah.
Where you could just run.
Like I said, that's a big rule 0 thing for me of just...
I think it's okay to have some fights that you run, but I think you need to have a way of telling your players that this is a fight you should run from instead of just like, hey, good luck. I've heard about there was like this story someone was telling on some kind of RPG story or whatever. It's like the 1 HP dragon or whatever, where this dragon would just...
I haven't heard about this.
It would like decimate a whole kingdom, like it flies through, it just causes untold devastation, and it's like very clearly a thing that you should run from. But the dragon itself only had 1 HP, and if anyone bothered to fight it, you would find that out if you ever hit it. So... I guess I'm not sure where I'm going with the story, but basically, like by destroying the town, whatever, people can get like, oh, I can't destroy a town, so this thing is way beyond me. We should run or whatever and call this an L.
Maybe one way to do that is during session 0, you say, hey, most of what you encounter is very territorial, and if you ever feel like you're about to lose a fight, you can likely get away without fear. Like they might take a parting shot, but they're unlikely to chase you. Mm-hmm. Then gives them the choice of when they want to leave or not.
Yeah, maybe you could have, if it's like a creature encounter or something like that, maybe you do a perception check and see like, oh, this seems to be like an intimidation posture or something like that. It seems like it's trying to scare you off. When it's fighting, you have the choice then, like, do I think I can take this 1,800-pound owlbear, or should we run?
Right.
That owlbear is the size of my Nissan Sentra.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe you in you, Derek. So I say go for it.
Well, I got the okay from the DM, guys. Suplex City!
There you go.
And then the bear picks up him and suplexes him.
And it just kind of
This is the way I
suplex
wanted to
into
go.
suplex into suplex.
And they just fly off into the sunset.
Y'all are going to make me go look for gifs of the owlbear from
From the top rope.
the Honor Among Thieves movie.
Uh-huh.
Guys, did we come up with anything conclusive here, or did we just ramble?
I think we just rambled, but I think there are some things that we can take away from this, which is, generally speaking,
Words of wisdom from Benjamin, generally speaking, go.
Generally speaking, it's all about how people feel when they play the game, because this is not a competitive game, it's a cooperative game.
right.
So basically, the way that you cooperate to win Dungeons & Dragons or any other tabletop RPG is by maximizing fun. And some people, their fun is going to be maximized by the challenge, the thrill of victory, the lows of defeat, and then being able to take the hero's journey towards something cool. And some people, they just want to do a power fantasy, and knowing your players and establishing what kind of game you're going to play up front, and then working to fulfill their emotional needs in the process. That could be hiding when you fudge, that could be looking the other way when they fudge after a string of bad rolls, and taking some of that agency away when you don't want them to feel the need to fudge, reducing the chance when you don't want there to be a chance, and then coming prepared with alternative ways to reach the same goal so that fudging isn't necessary. I think all those work together to really try to maximize the fun, right? If you go into it with that in mind, you're less worried about individual instances of fudging because you know that it overall it's working the good, and you also know, right, you know what kind of game people want to play to achieve what you're going for. I think that's what we said tonight.
Cool. I love it. Randy, you really chimed in a lot this episode. I'm so proud of you.
I tried.
Anything else you want to add? Any parting shots as we leave your territory?
Run.
Thank you guys so much for listening to our ramblings over what to do when people lie on dice rolls in a game of make-believe. Remember that you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/mymythicalmeta. You can contact us directly through email at mymythicalmeta@eldoradogaming.com. Please like, share, subscribe. Please leave a 5-star review wherever you get our podcast. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for being my great friends. I can't wait for our next mage session.
Ooh, yeah.
Let's get on the books.
Adios.
Bye.
I'll see you when I see you.
This episode was sponsored by Eldorado Gaming. Use the promo code META for 10% off your order. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. This episode was edited by me, Travis Konishek, and our intro and outro music is by Tyler Heath of the Oh Hellos.